let's talk about EDC knives and knives for self-defense. Now, the internet is full of knife experts of every flavor, all ready to teach you all sorts of sweet knife skills and sell you all sorts of purpose-made knives. Every single one is better than the last. Now, I'm not an expert, and I'm not selling anybody anything. I'm just a sort of normal, kind of average dad who has carried a lot of knives in my pockets over the past couple of decades, and I have some opinions about them. Now, sure, nobody asked for my opinion, but nobody's making you watch this video, so. Now, over the years, I think I have run the gamut of carrying knives. Everything from the Army surplus and gas station, shiny Rambo knives, and the Ninja Stars and whatever stuff that looks super cool. I suppose at times I even fell into the mall ninja category for a while. In the past 5 to 10 years, I have settled a bit on a couple of knives that I really like to carry and that I feel are the most useful. And I carry them the majority of the time. I still occasionally, fall for a new kind of tactical thing, buy new knives, try some new things out, but pretty much there's a couple of knives that I just always come back to. So what is the purpose of a knife for self-defense? Well, a lot of people choose to carry a knife for self-defense because they can't carry other things where they live. Although in the state of California, you are now allowed to carry sticks again, thanks to St. Benitez. It's been 100 years, but you can have a stick now. Every state has its own laws, cities have different laws, and other countries definitely have their own laws. In the UK, they're banning zombie knives, which are just scary looking knives. And it's good to know that the UK is working hard on making their country safe. Now, I'm not going to give any legal advice. That's your responsibility to figure out what is legal where you are. What is most likely to actually happen if you end up using a knife? I think folks have this idea that they'll pull a knife out and scare off a bunch of muggers, or they're going to, whip out a knife and they're gonna like crouching tiger, hidden dragon their way out of a bunch of attackers or something. And that's not really realistic. For this to be effective, someone has to be pretty close to you. And that is where most cases of using a knife are going to happen, when somebody is really, really close to you, which means a lot of things have gone wrong long before you needed to use that knife. A knife is pretty much a last-ditch option, and that's really how I think people should think about a knife. The knife that I carry the most, the clinch pick, I bought when I was doing a job where I was driving around a lot and going to a lot of locations. And sometimes I was driving with other people in the vehicle, transporting other people. I was never really afraid for myself while I was doing my job, and I was never really scared of the people that I was transporting. But while I was doing that job, it made me start thinking more about having people that I didn't know in a car behind me, or being in that sort of situation where, someone could be really, really close to me, grab me, be behind me, and then I'm kind of stuck. The work that I was doing, I was not allowed to carry any type of weapon or anything while I was at work. And I, of course, followed all of the rules when I was at work. If you are curious about non-weapon, non-knife or weapon ideas, things that I did to use as sort of self-defense tools, I guess, while I was working as a nurse. I could make a video about that if people actually want to see that. You can leave a comment and let me know. So let's talk a minute about the kinds of knives that people carry. Now, as I mentioned, I've gone through the whole gamut of knives that I have carried throughout my life. So I've gone from the boot knives, the big combat knives, all sorts of different folders, different styles of folding knives, neck knives, karambit, carrying things in pockets, boot, neck. At some point, I even had a little wrist sheath thing. I think I've tried pretty much everything in every way to carry a knife. I think the only knives that are truly worth carrying for self-defense for the majority of people, especially for the average, normal dad guys like myself, is knives kind of along the lines of the TDI, something like this. Maybe this style of knife, something more like the push knife, or something like the clinch pick with the reverse blade. So I think of those as the get off me style of knives. So it's something that you are using up very close to push someone away. You're pushing, you're using it in a very physical, like pushing or getting someone away from you when they are way too close. A lot of folks carry folding knives. Sometimes it's because they can't carry a fixed blade knife, when maybe that's the only option you have. Where are you going to carry it that you can get to it quickly? Can you open it quickly? Maybe you're in a place where you can have this sort of spring assist. Maybe you can't. Maybe you're limited to like a snaggletooth mod. Maybe you're just flicking it open with a thumb. So there's a lot more training, I guess, that goes into that opening of the knife. And then you've got a lot more, it takes a bit of room for that knife to open. So if you are really close, if somebody is really close to you, you have to have that space to get that knife out and open it. And it might not seem like a lot of space, but I think it takes more room and time than people really think about. Now, OTF knives, even more limited in where you are allowed to own them and carry them. And they have the same sort of problem. You have to have room for that blade to open. And they also have the issue if someone is really close, you can't just push the knife against them and open it, because if you do that, the knife does not actually open. It's a safety, so you don't accidentally shoot the knife into your leg. OTFs can also be a little bit finicky. They get a little pocket lint in them, and then all of a sudden your knife doesn't completely open when you want it to. I love carrying my OTFs around, but it's really just because they're cool. And then there are the classics, the knives like the karambit. Everybody's seen these. They've seen videos of all the special karambit moves. So certainly these are great knives for self-defense. Just be honest with yourself for a little bit. The vast majority of people who watch knife videos on the internet are never going to take any type of self-defense class, let alone a knife self-defense class. You've probably thought about it. You've always planned on it. You keep telling yourself, I'm going to sign up and I'm going to go do this. But the majority of you guys haven't done it and probably aren't going to do it. This is the kind of knife that takes a lot of training to actually manipulate well. And odds are most of you and myself are not going to get that training. It's not going to happen. I know I'm not going to. So my theory is that the dumbest knife is the best knife. And that is a knife that you can pull out and that fits well with the kind of panic mode of somebody attacking you. And that's where something like the TDI really comes in handy. You pull it out, it goes in your hand like this, and if you are trying to get somebody off of you, it's just there and it's going to work. You don't have to have a bunch of special training. Training would be great. You should do that. You should definitely do that. Everybody should have some sort of practice before they carry any sort of weapon around. But even if you don't, and you pull this out, it's still going to work at pushing and it's somebody off of you. And that is what I think the best sort of self-defense knife is the dumbest sort of knife. I think the best place to carry a knife is probably forward of your hips, front of your body. That could be on your belt. That's probably the easiest place. This is where your arms are. And if it's in front of you where you can reach it with either hand, that's going to be the best in some sort of stressful situation.
All right, so from here, John's not going to let me draw this. Really resist.
Holy smokes.
Okay, it's out.
Yeah.
Now I know there's guys out there who are like, well, just carry one on one side and then you just need to carry more knives, right? Like you just carry a second knife or your backup knife because 2 is 1 and 1 is none and more is better. And that's okay. You can do that. You can be Agent Wolf if you want. Walk around, get all the knives, you know, get the Wolverine meat shredding claws, and that's great. But for the majority of folks, that really isn't practical. You choose what works best for you. Because this is the internet, I'm sure you will all leave your opinions and tell me how wrong I am down in the comments. Make sure you do that. Go down to the comments, give me all of your opinions. I like reading them, good or bad. I appreciate all of you guys. Go do some dad stuff, be safe, and I'll see you next time.